Hello again, it's Elizabeth and I'm over here in my art loft, and today I'm going to show you excuse me, how I carve rubber stamps. There are many kinds of rubber out there that you can get. You can get Staedtler Mars Artist Carving Block, you can get a Moo Carve type thing. You can get this pink one that I don't know the brand name of because I've had it for a while. There's another thing similar to the Moo Carve but isn't. You can get erasers that are novelty erasers and use those. There's a couple of novelty erasers. You used to be able to carve them out of this Mars Staedtler plastic erasers, but they've gotten smart and put a little design on it that's kind of raised. So if you carve out of it, you can see that little CC there. I don't know if you can see that or not. Or EE, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's an S. Anyway, whatever letter it is, it's raised, so it makes it difficult. If you carve out of it, you get kind of a little pattern on whatever you carve. So today we're going to make a key because I've been making keys for my key prints that are going to be used in my, eventually, one of these days, going to be used in a steampunk journal. Excuse me. I think I need a drink of water. Here are some keys that I've already carved out of some blue rubber stuff I have. Pardon me while I drink some water there. That might help. Anyway, to get started, the first thing that you need to do is to draw on your surface, whatever it is, whatever carving surface you're using. You need to draw your image that you're going to use. So in this case, I'm going to do a key, and it's going to have like 3 holes at the top, or 2 holes at the top maybe, since I put that so close to the edge. And then it'll have the length of the key. And drawing, it's not as important as the carving of it, because the drawing of it, you can always erase it and start over again. Excuse me. So this, we're just going to trace around the outside of this. And this would probably be open there, so we'll just erase that to remember that that's what we're going to do. Some of these things erase better than others. Now, if you had this hanging on your key fob, of course, it would hang to one side, and that would make it easier for you to pick that key out of the rest of them. In this case, we're going to make a little rectangular thing, which will be the key itself. And maybe it has little inlets in the top, and then maybe one more in the bottom. So it's going to be a key that has this profile. When I carve a key, I use a linoleum cutter that you can get with this kind of handle from Speedball. And they a lot of times come with multiple different cutters on them. You can see that there's one that's bigger and one that's smaller there. And I just use the small one because you really don't need anything deeper than that if you're just using your rubber stamps for the jelly plate. Now, if you were using it for something else, you might. And this thing right here, I'm modifying this already because when I carve a rubber stamp, it resembles what I've drawn on there, but I don't go exactly on the lines that I've drawn. I don't worry about if it gets a little bit this way or a little bit that way. If I want, I can make a modification to it later. And I'm going a little deep with this one because the rubber stuff I've been carving is a lot harder than this, so I've forgotten how easy it is to carve an eraser. Okay, so we make our lines connect there. Maybe overlap a little. And I'm not sure if you can see that or not. Let's see if we can erase out that so you can see it better. Then I'm going to do inside. This doesn't erase as good as my rubber stuff does. Anyway, I'm going to do the inside of it to make a copy of that so that it looks like the thickness of the key. And again, since it's going to be used on the jelly plate, I'm not making it absolutely perfect because, as we know, the jelly plates give their own personality to whatever you do to them. So it's not as important as if you were doing it on just stamping on a piece of paper. Now, I don't know if you can see that, but it's about, I'd say, 1/16 of an inch deep when I've cut that. And then when we cut another, the length of it will just go along this edge and try to make it straight in this case. Make the curve at the end, because usually your keys are not flat at the end, although some of them are. I did look at several keys before I started this. You can get old looking keys from the jewelry department at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or any one of those. You can get, of course, you can buy old keys at estate sales and things like that. The old keys come in so many different varieties. Some of them are very simple keys. I mean, there was one that was a real key that, let's see if I've got a copy of it over here. Where is it? Right here. It just had a single little notch at the end, and it was a little round key at the top. It didn't even have these lines here. It was just kind of all forged together, and it had one little thing at the end. You can also do things like the padlocks. Okay, and I need to go up this side still. Make sure you don't try not to overcut into the things that you've already done, because if you do, it will show. Okay, then I'm going to outline these little squares here. Rectangles maybe, I don't know. And these could be round instead of being the little squares. Some keys come that way, little rounded holes, and then most of them were square, I think, because of the way that they were forged long time ago. I mean, if you're trying to make them look like old keys, if you're making them look like modern keys, I mean, that's easy enough. Then when I get to this point, I use my X-Acto knife, and I take, let me move that off the table because it's going to roll and irritate me. Okay, so then I move along, I put my X-Acto knife down into each of these little lines here, and I will cut along it. And you don't have to cut really deep. I mean, you can cut really deep. You shouldn't cut very deep to start with. You can make a second cut to make it go all the way through if you want it completely separate. Now, if you're doing this on a table or on a cutting mat, either one, you don't want your knife to go down into the table or the cutting mat, so you might hold it up in the air to do the last little cut to make it go through the other side. Because I'm holding it at an angle which is about 45 degrees to the table. So if I'm holding it at an angle and I put it down into my cutting mat or into the table, either one, then it is going to leave a line. Your cutting mats are made so that they are, they take things that are straight up and down and heal themselves to a degree, but they do not take cuts that are diagonal, because a cut that's diagonal, if you put two of them, two V cuts into it, you're going to have it come right apart. Okay, in this case, I'm just going to break this out of here. Can trim that later. And look at that, it's got kind of a brown interior. How about that? Never knew that. I haven't carved on this kind of stuff for a really long time, and I think at the time that I did it, I simply made a relief print rather than making a total rubber stamp, which was independent of the back surface. A rubber stamp is a relief print because the image that you are making is carved into relief. In other words, you're printing from the surface and not from the leftover edges of it, the background. Now, if you're doing an intaglio print, that's an entirely different thing. That one you're printing from below the surface. And I don't know if you notice this, but I'm really kind of keeping my hand with the knife kind of still and pushing the eraser into it. But anyway, an intaglio print, you actually carve the lines into the plate, and then you push the ink into the lines that you've carved and wipe away the surface so that what actually prints is from the carved lines that you've made. Okay, so we've got this, and we can kind of pull it loose from its backing. And there. And if you need to, just use your knife to pull that loose. Now you can see that what I have, the back of it is much bigger than the front of it, and that's because I made a sloping cut to it, a 45-degree cut with my knife, so that it would give as much support as it could to the surface of that. If you make a straight up and down cut to it, then you're going to have a very weak surface that you're printing from. So you want to make sure that you keep your knife at that 45-degree angle. And when you're doing like the holes like this, the hole or holes, that is your key, and I'm again holding my knife still and just kind of running my, pushing the rubber into it. And there I missed, but I will fix that in a moment. Let's just go on with that. And if you do this, you might go around it twice, and you might not even have to go all the way through the rubber stuff. You can sometimes just have it pop right, well, that did go through, but just barely. As you can see, it made kind of a little eyeball on the back. And that one didn't go through. But that doesn't look very rounded there, so I'm going to go back through and fix it a little so that it's got a little better contour to it. Come on, you. Sometimes you can't tell from what's there and what's been cut and what hasn't been cut. And sometimes I go backwards the other way to get it just like I want it. Keep your fingers out of the way of the blade. Absolutely keep your fingers out of the way of the blade. We don't want any blood on your artwork, or as a result of your artwork. So now you see we have, and I've missed just a little bit more that I want to cut there. Come on, you're going to work right. Of course you will, because if you don't, I'll do it over again. I'll just pull that out of there, because the part down here doesn't really matter if that's perfect or not. Now we'll take this piece of rubber here. Come on, let go, you. And I'm going to sit that there, and I'm going to cut off these two little extra things because they're annoying. Oh, yeah, we forgot our key part. So we can just make a little slice here, 45-degree angle, a little slice here, 45-degree angle. And when we do the 45-degree angle, that's the top of that, then that should just pop right out. Again, 45-degree angle here, 45-degree angle the other way, and at the little top, 45 degrees, and it pops right out. And one more. And I will show you how this works. 45 degrees there, 45 degrees there, and pop that little baby right out. Come on, you. Okay, I'm going to just use a Stays-On ink stamper rubber stamp, and that will show you how it works, what we've got on the surface. So that's what our surface looks like, and if we were to use that on our jelly plate, that's what we stamp onto our jelly plate. And we can print on this. I already have a key on this side, so we'll put it on this side. Not that I'm going to use this, but you can either use it like a rubber stamp and push it down, or you can just let it come up like that. And since we missed a little bit, let's see if we can hit that place by putting this back down very carefully and watching from the edge as we do it, and just right in that middle there. And there we have our completed key. So that's what it looks like, and that's how you do it. Pretty simple, huh? Anyway, if you like this video, subscribe. Take a look at some of my other videos. I have some gel printing. I have some books and other things. Thank you for watching. Comment. Leave me a comment. I always look at those and answer those. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.